Welcome everybody to ESC Fan TV. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all of you in the chat room. Thank you for those that are watching on the recap on YouTube, and those also that have downloaded our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and the other one, which name will come to me shortly. Always forget that one. But thank you for doing that, and make sure you click the like button. Make sure you click subscribe. Really appreciate you doing that. And it's really important that we continue to do this for you. So really, really pleased that you can click that button for us. Really means a lot. Anyway, so what we're going to discuss tonight. Tonight is going to be a fantastic show. We are going to be discussing 4 key hot topics. It will be fire. First topic of the evening, we will be discussing the Beovizija selection in Serbia. 24 songs in Serbia. We are going to tell you who we think are going to be the favorites and do really well for Serbia. We are going to take you through the 8 songs in Portugal, the final being this Saturday, Festival da Canção. We are then going to move on to Tamta. We're going to bring in our Cypriot correspondent Oban, who's going to tell us why Cyprus are going to challenge for the Eurovision title again this year in Tel Aviv. And then finally, what the hell is going on with Ukraine? What will Ukraine do next year? Because, of course, breaking news, they are out. But before we get on to that, let's talk about Serbia. Serbia have taken part 11 times in Eurovision, 8 of them in the final. They've won once. They won on their debut in 2007 with the song Molitva, of course. And last year, they came 19th in the final with Sanja Ilic and Balkanica. 24 songs in this year's Serbian semi-final. First semi-final is taking place tonight. The second will take place tomorrow. And the final will take place on Sunday. So we're going to ask our guests what they think of some of the songs. But first of all, thanks for those in the chat room. Keep your questions coming in. Ask your questions. We will put those questions to our panel. Coming to you first, Joe. Take us through your favourites. Good evening, Joe. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you guys?
Very good. Yeah, very good. Take us through your favourites in Serbia. What should we be looking out for?
My personal favourite, I love the name of this band, is the Wonder Strings. I think it's the Wonder Strings. There's a song called Moje Bol. My notes on here basically said, I mean, most of the entrants are a typical Balkan ballad. This is a nice Balkan ballad, slightly different in the sense that there's more than just a solo person singing it. And I do honestly think, though it's fairly similar, in setup to last year, I do think for me it's probably got the best chance of getting through and qualifying. I think they're in semi-final 1 this year. The other ones I quite like. Again, another fantastic name, the Gypsy Chord. I love it. And again, it's a bit of a, I suppose it's slightly different way. It's a bit of a disco classic that comes to mind. Very dated. It's not the best selection in the world, but I think this one sort of stands out. There are others as well that sort of hover on the okay. Like I can't pronounce his name, but the song's called Nema Souza. Is it Desnen? And again, he's, it's a little bit similar to Inya for Montenegro last year. So, but they're all very, very similar in the sense that they're all more ballady, so to speak.
Thanks, Joe. I'm going to move on to Jason Darcy. Jason of Jason Darcy Entertains. And Jason, you were entertaining on Saturday at Manchester Calling.
I was indeed. Yeah, it was a really good night. Really, yeah. We had a bit of karaoke as well on the stage. It was fantastic. It's going until 2:30 in the morning. I'm totally shattered now.
I imagine you are. I imagine you are. Serbia, has that woken you up?
There are a few songs which I've actually watched a little bit of the show earlier. Totally confused at what was going on. Some man at the front with a black eye. I'm not quite sure what was going on there. 3 songs I kind of just, you know me, I like a bit of a a movement to my song. Gypsy Chord was one of them. I did actually quite like that group. Saskia Janks, which is something I can't pronounce. That was quite funky as well. But the name as well. Mr. Do and Do 100. I quite like that. That was a little bit bouncy. But the rest for me are a little bit similar. A little bit balcony. That kind of not my kind of music, if you know what I mean. It kind of a little bit over my head. So those three are probably my most bouncier ones.
Because you like a banger, don't you?
I do.
You do, yeah. and let's be fair, this is a Balkan ballad final, isn't it? I mean, there's 24 entries. The majority of them are ballads. And you know, if you're not into Balkan ballads, this is probably not the national final selection for you. Martin, you love a Balkan ballad. Take us through your favourites here.
In fact, most of my favourites aren't ballads. In my extensive research of initially looking at a 24 selection through 8 minutes and then picking the best 3 that I liked and having a list of them, so not very much. First semi-final's got my favourite in it, which is Sofia Peric with Arrhythmia, and that was sort of up-tempo. I really enjoyed that. Then the next 2 are in the second semi-final. There's a Goga Stanic with Kudo. That sort of caught my eye. And the third one is somebody who's actually been at Eurovision before, and that's Novina Bozovic with Kruna, and she was part of MARUV 3, the 3 girls who in the Serbian national final were dressed as, she was the one in the middle and there was a devil and an angel by the side of her, and when they got to Eurovision they had this sort of candy powder puff rubbish outfits that was part of the reason why they didn't get through to the final. But hers is more of a ballad. So yeah, but those are the 3 that are struck, you know, that I liked anyway. I'll probably just be waiting to see which one wins and then sort of comment on that.
So just a point on Novina Bozovic, you made reference to there. You're right. She took part in Eurovision 2013 as part of MARUV 3. She won an award that year. She won the Barbara Dex Award. Bless her. Dress of the year. Everyone wants to win when they go to Eurovision, the Barbara Dex Award. But she did actually come 3rd for Junior Eurovision in 2007. So this could potentially be her 3rd Eurovision appearance of such. Nicholas, I'm going to come to you next. What's this selection mean to you? And did you find any songs in there you thought, this is the song that could go and win Eurovision for Serbia?
Lots of Balkan ballads, but not enough Balkan bangers. You know, it's a shame because I usually really like the Serbian songs. I think they can do really well. This isn't the year for them. I feel like if I were to go with one of these very typical Balkan songs that I do feel like works, it is Saskia Janks' song. I'm not gonna try to pronounce it either. So she came second in the selection last year, and I think she has a pretty good shot this year. Not sure if it's going to be the winner, but I could see it ending up in the top 3 in the national selection. I do think, because people tend to like these Balkan-styled songs, I think it could go through to the final in Eurovision. Obviously, we saw it last year with the very typical Balkan Serbian entry there. But that's not my favorite. I found my favorite in the Serbian selection. It's my guilty pleasure. It's the song Funked Up. It was the first song to go on in the semifinal tonight, and I absolutely adore it. I don't know why. It's a bit old school, but I really like the style of it, and it's really fun. I'm really worried that it's not going to go through to the final even. I think we'll have the results in a couple of minutes or something. I'm worried it won't go through. It probably won't go through, but I love it. It's great.
You got a fan on the chat room, Nicholas. It says, Life with Matt says, oh my God, Nicholas has an Emma Blackery poster.
That is correct.
Yeah, wasn't listening to a word you were saying. He was more concentrated on the poster behind you, Nicholas. But
oh well.
You know. But great point. Oban, bring you in. What did you think of this selection? And is there any favourites for you?
Stuart, you know, Balkan countries, I have a soft spot. Serbia is a very successful country, and I do love a Balkan ballad, you know, Oro, Molitva, Leila from Bosnia. But this year I'm gonna go with an up-tempo Balkan song. My favorite, like my top 3, is competing tonight in the first semi-final. Sashka is my favorite, definitely. And then I have Ivana Vladovic, Moja Bor, if I'm not reading it wrongly. And then Sofia Peric is my top 3. And I do hope that Sashka will win the whole thing and bring a good vibe, a positive song, an up-tempo. Something maybe can be a little threat to Tamta, and we need some competition. So I hope Sashka will win.
You think you're going to find competition in this selection, do you? You're just playing along again, over, weren't you? You're a good old boy. Elliot. Apparently Nez is currently singing in the in Beovizija, as Martin's just told me. But take us through this these 24. Are there any songs in there? And don't worry, I'm not asking you to take you through all 24, although I could just put you on the spot. But take us through your top songs. What ones are you expecting to do well for Serbia?
Well, we went through all 24. I could probably apply the same notes to about 18 of them, which is Balkan Ballad by numbers. Next. It's not a strong selection for Serbia, first and foremost, and I think they're going to struggle. I mean, they got through in the televote last year. They didn't on the jury in the semi-final, and a lot of their songs are so similar to what they sent last year, which is, I don't think, a good idea, because I wasn't a big fan of them last year. If I had to, I have got 2 which I am like earmarked that stood out for me, and they are Navina Bosovic with Kluna. I do really like that. I hope she's dressed like a girl who fell into a toy box again, because I did like their song in 2013, and it works better in English, but that made no sense in Serbian when they're dressed like they were. The other one, I think I actually want to win, is competing tonight, and it's Natasha and Una with Samo Bezdraha, I think is how you say it. The song itself is nothing amazing, but their voices do work really well together, in studio at least, and it did sound like a nice duet. And it would be nice to have another female jury just to compete against sisters from Germany as well. And, you know, they're in the first semi-final. Are they going to get out of it? I'm not fully sure with any in this selection, but I do feel like their best bets are Natasha or Nevena. But I do think Dezan is going to win it. He does seem like the big favourite who's competing tomorrow night. And that song to me just sounds like a Shleshko Joskimovic, or however the hell you say his name, but a poor man's version, and I'm not a big fan of him anyway. So I'm not thrilled by Serbia this year. Just bring back Sanja Vucic. Just do that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of special mentions here. I think the first one is to Mr. Do with Do 100, and the song that he spent hours writing, because it reads no. It's like a machine gun going off. No.
Lyrical genius.
It's just fantastic. It's fantastic. I want to find the songwriter and shake his or her hand. It's phenomenal.
Didn't a song win in the 70s just going la 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 for 3 minutes? It could work.
I see where the inspirations come from. It's phenomenal. And the second song I want to make point of is Lana and Aldo. And the fact that if you go and have a look at Lana, she looks just a little bit like Toya Wilcox. The resemblance is uncanny. Go and have a look. Toya Wilcox. So, panel, do we think Serbia, and I'm not going to talk potential winners here, do we think Serbia have got something within this 24 that will get them out of their semi-final? Can they come to each of you individually? A big yes or no. Elliot, do you think they're a qualifier this year?
No, not a guarantee.
Jason?
Sadly not.
Well, this is not looking good for Serbia, is it? Joe, you're normally full of optimism. Are you thinking that Serbia has a chance to qualify this year?
No, sorry, no.
It's going terribly, terribly badly for Serbia. Martin, what are your thoughts there?
Seeing it semi-final 1 and looking at who's already there, probably not, no.
And Nicholas, given what you said, I presume you're a yes?
Mostly yes. I think it really depends on what they're sending. You know, if they send a Balkan ballad in a year full of ballads and mid-tempos, no, probably not.
And finally, our Cypriot correspondent who's dying to talk about Tamta and wants to get over to the next subject. What do you think is going to happen with Serbia? Qualifier or non-qualifier over there?
I think, Stuart, for the same reasons, but opposite result for me with Martin. For looking at the semi-final one, they have Montenegro, they have Greece, they have us. We tend to vote for Serbia. And then now that Ukraine is also out, it's a weaker semi-final with a good song. They have a chance. So
I like the optimism. I also think they have a chance if they send Narina Bozovic. That's their best option. It's a shame for Serbia because there are so many ballads in Eurovision this year that in a year where you pick mostly ballads in the semi-final, you're going down one route. And it's a route of no escape. And there is no escape for Serbia this year. They have to go ballads, in my opinion. Just my opinion. And I think they will.
I think the other issue is that they are one of 5, maybe 6 songs in a foreign language in that semi-final alone. You've got Georgia, Portugal, Hungary, Poland. They're going to struggle.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't see it.
So in summary, the panel do not believe Serbia has what it takes to qualify. Boo-hoo, Serbia. So sorry to inform you of that information. We'll move on now to Portugal before we get any hate from Serbians. Portugal this Saturday have their final 8 songs in the Festival da Canção. Of course, Portugal won most recently. Fantastic song. We were in Lisbon last year. Claudia Pascal represented Portugal last year, but sadly came last. So they went from first to last. And Portugal, bar the year they won, tend to do relatively poorly. What do we think about these 8 songs? Do we think they've got any potential Eurovision winners or certainly challengers? Elliot, I'm going to come to you first. 8 very diverse songs. Possibly the most diverse selection in any national final this year. No bangers, but certainly lots of songs with some really strong points and maybe some points that are a bit Marmite. What are your thoughts on some of these songs?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, which is, Portugal, as usual, are going to stand out in Eurovision. They do every year for good or bad reasons. It's normally bad for me. I think the last song I loved theirs was 2009, I want to say. The woman in the black dress was like twirling a bit, was having a lot of fun. Very happy song. I've forgotten what it's called. For me, my standout song, which is probably not going to win because she only qualified on the televote split, is Ana Claudia with Inacera. I liked her style. I liked the whole sort of her vocal. I liked what she did there. But she's closing and she's right before the massive fan favourite, so I don't hold much hope. As for the big fan favourite, which is Conan Osiris, I don't understand this. I don't fully understand what people see and love in this song.
Thank you. Finally, someone who agrees with me.
Some people are saying like it can contend to win. Being brutally honest, if they send Telemo this, I don't see it qualifying. I think it's too abstract. It's too weird. He's got like a gold-plated beard on, which confuses the hell out of me. He's got a dancer in glitter and doing death drops, and everything doesn't seem to fit with the song, and it just confuses the absolute marbles out of my brain. I think the duo sound good together, but it's a really dated sounding song as well. I think Surma is very unique. She did look like a bit like Annie Lennox with not much sleep in the semi-finals. I hope they change that slightly. But I do think it's going to be Conan or Surma, and I'm just not a massive lover of either. If I could pick, I would pick Ana Claudia, but I do think Portugal are going to struggle. I really do. Sorry, Stuart. I know you love this selection so much.
I'm in love with Portugal this year. David Ray's on the chat room. He's Portuguese. We've had a conversation some time ago about how good the quality of Portugal's been this year. These are the best 8, no doubt about it. The best 8 songs in the whole selection of 16, and I'm really excited about Saturday. I don't know what it is. I'm just more excited than the Melody Festivalen. I'm going to come to Martin. Martin, 8 songs. You've played a number of these on your radio show, Let Me Be the One blog and radio show. If you're not already subscribed or listening to him, you should be. What you're doing. But Martin, coming to you with these songs, who's the favourite for you?
Well, the 2 favourites, the 2 that were top of each semi-final, were probably the more traditional sounding Portuguese entries, which were, one of them was Matai, which is effectively amazing ballad.
Perfetto.
Yeah, a superb singer, wonderful singer. And in the second semi-final was MBC, which with the heavy guitar sounds that I said sounded as though it's just come out of a Tarantino movie. And he had this, great, just him. I'm pretty sure he was the one with the sort of weird checked suit. Just him singing, all eyes on him. And they were the two winners. So in a way, I know that Conan and Surma got sort of top marks with, was it the jurors or the televotes, one or the other in their semi-final, but those two other acts are probably the favourites in a way. And I think them Portugal more like to go for those than to go for the more abstract ones. Although, Conan is really, initially you think, what the hell is this? And after a while, it's so eclectic, avant-garde. I mean, is there a fado guitar in there? The electronica. I said it's almost, sounds more like it's come out of Ukraine, because that's what Ukraine tend to produce, that sort of sound. And Surma, I mean, I didn't like it at all. And you sort of say, oh, it's best thing since sliced bread. And there is a charm about the stage performance, but whether it's too out there to actually get enough votes to, be in Eurovision. I think if in Eurovision, everyone would be going, wow, what was that? But I don't know if anybody would actually vote for it.
I think it's bonkers, and I think it's bonkers in a really good way. I see lots of people voting for it. I see lots of people picking up the phone for bonkers in Eurovision, but it's bonkers in a Portuguese way, which is a good thing. I got to experience Fado for the first time live in Lisbon with Andy, that's on the chat room, and I've fallen in love with that country. Portugal's such a beautiful country. This final for me, I think, is full of diversity. That's what I will personally want from a Eurovision selection. But just going back to the chat room, Martin, and we'll come back to some of my guests. David Ray, who I mentioned was Portuguese before. His favourites are first Conan with the song Telemovis that we've just discussed. Song two, his second favourite is MBC with Iguality, which is the guy with the check shirt, check suit. And third is Surma with the song Pugma. So they're, from a Portuguese point of view, they're the three songs that they like the best. I'd have those three in my top three as well, actually, but I'd also add in Inertia, because they're the top four for me. Yeah. What else we got going on in the chat room? It's a hive of activity this evening. We've got Anna Claudia can be the dark horse, says David. The final will be regional juries and televote. In case of the draw, the televote will be the decider. Hi to ESC Matt. Hi to Matthew Andrews. The gold mask is inspired by the Egyptian god Osiris. I don't know, but I'll take your word for it. Thanks very much for the comment there. And hi to Andy. He's put something about his antics I'm not going to read on air. Right, coming to you, Jason. Jason, tell me about Portugal for you. What does it mean? And are you excited by this final?
In a word, no. It's passing by this year, and Portugal is probably one of the countries I do listen to for ballads. I liked last year's actually. Shame it came last. Obviously the winner the year before. And when I was at Portugal last year, the music over there was beautiful. Experienced it for the first time, and how passionate they are with their music is a wonder to see. Spanish are with theirs. But some of these do pass me by, and it's Anna Claudia for me again, because it's just above the rest of them, just for me personally.
Something very special about it. It's quite hypnotic.
It is, yeah. But I don't know. It's just passed me by this. In fact, a Portuguese friend of mine said, "Have you listened to the songs?" I said, "Not yet." And I did quickly sort of go through them, and just I don't know. They sounded a bit samey, and The bonkers one was good. I did that. Anything bonkers in Eurovision works. Let's face it. Anything different works, and especially this year. I think something stands out this year that it's going to go through, because it's a very middling year so far, and all the songs we want to come through haven't gone through. Mentioning no names, Ukraine. So you never know. You could do a bonkers song to win.
Well, that's why I think it would really stand out if the Portuguese people sent Surma, Pugna, I mean, I've got this weird suspicion it could really challenge. Coming to Nicholas. Nicholas, what are your thoughts on this selection? And who would you be picking?
I think it's been a little hard for me because Portugal is not a country that I usually follow in Eurovision. I think their entry last year is, in my personal opinion, the best entry they've ever sent, because it was a song that could stand on its own without you knowing that it's a Portuguese song. I feel like usually they send song where it's like, oh, that's the song from Portugal. For me, it's between NBC or Surma. It was the two that I enjoyed the most, listening to the 8 songs one after the other. I don't like Conan, and I haven't liked it from the very beginning when everyone started talking about it on Twitter. I don't know what it is. For me, it's like, see, it's hard to explain, but it's like, to me, it's just noise. It's not music, it's noise. And the performance is weird. And we got to remember, because everyone says, oh, this could challenge the win for Eurovision if this goes through. We have to remember that for a song to be liked at Eurovision, the general public has to like it too. And I feel like this is the kind of song where the fandom can get behind it 100%, sort of like Italy back in 2017. The fandom can get behind it 100%, but the general public, the people that amounts for the most percentage of the vote at the grand final, I don't think they would get it.
Thanks, Nicholas. I mentioned there's a hive of activity. Sorry, Portugal's clearly struck a nerve tonight in the chat room. There's lots to talk about. Can we bring Susie back? Can we not?
Why not?
Susie was great. Susie was great. I'm joking.
At least that was a fun song. I can give it that.
It was fun. What else? Matthew Andrews says Conan will come top 10 at least at Eurovision. There's something about his performance at the festival that's extremely atmospheric. Rui Gonçalves, hopefully I pronounced that right. Apologies if I haven't, Rui. Conan's chances of going to Eurovision are dependent on the juries giving at least 8 points, and Kalima can still form a top 3 from the televote with Mate or NBC. So basically, any of the 8 songs can win. It's not where we're at. So finally, I'm going to come to Joe. Sorry, we're going to come to Elliot after Joe. Joe, who's your favourite in Portugal?
To be honest with you, I mean, I love Portugal as a background. I've always loved Portugal and Eurovision. Even when I was a kid, it was something I don't know. I just loved them. It was the song I was always looking forward to. Always the one I tried to sing. Everyone who knows me know how much I love Conquistador from many years ago. So I always listen to Portugal and try and get into it. I haven't this year. This is the first year I can honestly say I haven't got a massive favourite. I do, however, like NBC. There's something about him. I love his character, and I love the song. And I agree really with everyone else. I think it's down to him or Surma. I'm not a fan of Conan at all. I think he potentially could win because of being different. But it is just not my favourite. So yeah, I'm going for NBC on this one.
And finally, wrap it up, Elliot.
The thing is, though, everyone's saying about it standing out and whatnot, but everyone, because it's bringing what Nicholas said about the general public need to get this, and a lot of the fans last year loved Claudia's song "O Jardim," and it's a beautiful song and very personal to her. It came last, and it came 25th in both categories, so it missed the mark on the general first-time listeners, and I think it's going to happen again. Mm-hmm. They are in the second half with Kate Miller-Heidke, Victor Cologne, Elliot. They could easily be stuck in between Australia and Estonia, and they're gone because you've got 2 upbeat songs with very unique staging at the moment. They could easily just be washed over, sadly. And I do feel like sometimes Portugal are just treated as the filler spot in Eurovision in the semi-final, so they can get the next act ready. And yeah, there's nothing just giving me confidence with what Portugal could send. And that's the problem. The fans always seem to love Portugal, but those that have the bigger voice, which is the first-time listeners, never do. And I think that's what everyone seems to forget, that, O Jardim is a perfect example. And Some people are saying it's because of the stage invader with Suri afterwards. I don't think it was. I just think it was a song that people just couldn't connect with for some reason, which is a shame.
Before we go to our panel for a final time on Portugal, just a quick one in the chat room. Don't forget to click that like button. Make sure you click subscribe. There are plenty of people in the chat room. Make sure that we've got plenty of likes, please. We're here doing this for you. It's much appreciated. Also, don't forget, you can listen to this podcast tomorrow on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. Lots of comments in the chat room. I think this is an open field, but I'm keen to know what my panel think. One name who they think is going to win in Portugal. I'm not going to come to Oben because Oben is getting himself ready, prepared to tell us all about Tamta.
Although he wants to say something. Question.
Go on.
Fuego.
Oh, you want to say Fuego?
Fuego will win Portuguese final.
Get back in your box. We'll come to you about Tamta in a minute. Bye. Nicholas, who's going to win in Portugal?
NBC, I think.
NBC. Martin, who's going to win?
Yeah, I'd probably go with NBC as well.
Joanne?
Yeah, NBC for me, all the way.
So NBC's doing it at the moment. Jason, do you agree? Is it NBC for you?
NBC.
NBC for you. Yeah, sounds like NBC's everyone's pick. Finally, Elliot, who would you go for?
I think it's NBC as well. I just got this feeling.
Okay, I'm going to go Surma Pugma, just to be difficult, and the fact that I think that that's trippy enough to win Eurovision. Yeah, so we are now going to go straight to Oben, who is our Cypriot correspondent. He flew all the way to Lisbon last year to cheer on Eleni and see her come second. Not that that's a bad thing. He doesn't regret a single thing. It was a good thing for him. Sadly, she lost. He doesn't mind, and we don't mind reminding him about that thing. So, Oben, take it away. What's going to happen with Tamta this year? What are you making of her demo that's been leaked?
So, Stuart, thank you for sparing time for Cyprus, such a tiny little country. But trying to make a mark in history again this year. So I put together some numbers for the newbies of Eurovision. We've been participating in 1981. Our journey started in 1981. 35 times participation. Never won. Best result, second place last year. But we tried everything. We sang in Greek, English, French, Italian, Spanish, Fuego. We did ballads, we did up tempos, we did everything. We take this contest seriously, but we never made it to the top on the scoreboard. This year, Tamta will be waving the flag in Israel, Tel Aviv. Tamta is, of course, I'm sure everybody knows, is Georgian-born, living in Greece, Athens, Greece. Started her professional career 2004 by becoming second in the Super Idol Greece. Then she became a judge on X Factor Greece and X Factor Georgia. And the one thing that we should know, she has an amazing voice. She has a great range to her vocal, and she's a fashion icon. That's the two major points when we talk about Tamta that we have to mention. So that she was a guest judge on Project Runway in Greece last year. The song is Replay. The teaser was dropped 2 days ago and already been viewed on YouTube 300,000 times. More than the I would say Bilal Hassani's video clip, and so there's definitely a hype, and it's upbeat. We know that it's a showgirl. Well, she's not the greatest dancer, not as much as Eleni is, but she's definitely is a showgirl. She has put interest in Eurovision multiple times. She did collaborations with Mihai from Romania, Stereo Mike from Greece, Mikolas Iosef last year. They did a performance together in MAD Awards, Music Awards in Greece. we are hopeful. I am hopeful. We were never doubting the qualifying to the final because the song, the performance. Alex P is the composer of the song again with his team. Sasha John Baptiste is doing the staging again, like she did last year with Eleni. It's a very promising entry for us. So yeah, that's more or less I have to say about it.
Thank you, Oban. Well, we've got our fingers crossed for you that you do better than second this year.
No.
Some of us have, maybe not Nicholas. He wants Denmark to win. We'll come to Nicholas now. Nicholas, what are you making of the leak that we've heard this week?
So my biggest worry when I turned on the song would be, is this just Fuego 2.0? And here's the thing. Of course, there are bits of it that are like Fuego. They want to do well. Of course, they want to do well. That being said, I do actually think the song can stand on its own. It's always this thing where if you send a song that did really well the previous year and you try to send something similar the year after, usually that doesn't really do very well. But the reason for that is usually because everyone does it. So far, we haven't really seen anything that's trying to build up the hype that Fuego had last year. No one's really trying to do that. And for that reason, you know what? I think Cyprus could do well this year as well. I think if they have a great and unique staging, the song is great. There's no doubt about that. And the people that maybe didn't watch Eurovision last year aren't thinking about Fuego. They will see this as something modern, as something cool. And yeah, I think it's a definite qualifier. That's for sure.
And Jason, does this hit your banger category?
It does. Again, when I first heard it, and you remember it's a very small clip, and it's probably going to be very nice when it comes out. Fuego 2.0, which is a good thing. But I think, and I've heard her back catalogue as well, and I know she's a very good performer. She's going to be top 3. I have a feeling she will be top 3. And if once I hear the full 3 minutes, and I think I'm going to get these goosebumps, I feel it may be a winner. We could do with a nice trip to Cyprus, I think, next year. That'll do me lovely.
Absolutely, yeah. They just have to find a stadium to host it. We might be on the beach again. Who knows? Joanne, you love a banger too. I don't know whether you've been into Tamta's back catalogue like Jason has, but what are you thinking about this one?
It's quite funny because my very first thought when I heard it straight away was, oh my god, Legends. You know, everyone was thinking Fuego. No, I was hearing Legends.
And just to be clear, you're talking Legends from the UK final last year.
Yes, the standard Legends. Yeah, absolutely. There was just something there. You know, I think it was just that little bit of the music. At one point in the instrumental, I was starting to sing into Legends. It's going to do well. There's no doubt about it. It will do well. You know, for me, it's not the winner, but then, you know, it probably will be. I thought that about Fuego when I first heard it. I thought, oh god, it's not me, it's not my cup of tea, blah blah blah. And then I loved it by the end of it. So I think with the staging that she's going to have, and the fact that she's a really good singer, and the fact that she's an icon, and she's, you know, in sort of Greece and Cyprus, she's famous. I think she could do really well, and especially, you know, I can't see anything at the moment that I can say that would be a winner yet, but we'll see. You know, a little bit of staging there, she might do really well.
Martin, Tamta has already been compared to Eleni. We've even on the panel tonight we've heard Fuego 2.0. Potentially that's a good thing, right? Cyprus are riding a wave right now. They're already 7th in the betting before the song's been officially released. Could we be looking at potentially Limassol 2020?
Well, anything's possible at this stage. It's going to stand out, as everyone else has already said. She's an experienced performer. And it's not only these, you know, the sort of up-tempo songs she can sing. If you look on YouTube, and she's sung Radiohead's Creep amazingly well, and that's, you know, it just shows her versatility. She's got potentially the best stage director at the moment, Sasha Jean-Baptiste. She's got one of the best songwriters with Alex P. You know, they're going to make it play to their strengths, really, and play to her strengths. And as has been said before, most people who will be voting in well, definitely the final, maybe not so much the semi-final, because it probably is more fan-based, the semi-final, but definitely assuming she gets to the final, most of them might remember that there was this song called Fuego, and a woman tossing her hair around in a Beyonce-style routine. But a lot of people won't. They'll just be thinking, how does this compare to the other songs on the night? And if it catches the mood like Fuego did, or even Toy did, or whatever, then it's got a good chance of winning. And, you know, I think it's going to stand out, whatever it sounds like. I'm probably going to wait to the full 3 minutes, because you assume that the teaser bit has some of the best bits in it, but you never can tell. Sometimes there might be better bits. Obviously, the demo was a demo 2 minutes? I think it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you've got a better, but, you know, so we've got a lot more to hear, but hopefully it's all good stuff.
And finally, Elliot, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, like I said, everyone's been comparing it to Fuego, but people have been complaining about that. But you can't complain if a song sounds similar when they're using the exact same team that they used in Fuego. So I find that a bit funny that people have been complaining about that online, considering it's, you know, it's the exact same team. You've got Andreas Fuerhol on it again. You've got Alex P. You know, these are people who do bangers, for lack of a better word. They are brought in to do this type of music. I actually really like it. I prefer it to Fuego on first listen. Fuego, it wasn't for me. It was just your run-of-the-mill Latin dance track. It did nothing for me. But it's got the trumpets in there as the instrumental, which really caught my attention. It actually reminded me more of Where You're Loved by Ali Ryan in the German selection, the trumpet instrumental. I don't think she's going to be doing much choreography as much as Eleni, because if they do that, then it will probably look too similar. So I think Sasha Jean-Baptiste, I can never say her name properly, will be very careful in that sort of staging to make it its own song and not just a carbon copy. I do think this will qualify. You know, she's got Georgia and Greece in the semi-final with her, so she's locked on for, you know, 48 points potentially there, if not like 40 at least. And it's a good song. It's upbeat. It's, you know, it's what people want to hear in Eurovision. It will do well. Do I think it will win? I don't know, but it's just a demo we've heard. It could do well, you know, and, you know, Cyprus, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know, they found what worked from last year and they're doing it again this year, and good on them. It seems to be working, and it's a bit bizarre that the song that had the most commercial success, people are staying away from, and they're doing the exact same thing, which will only help their favour again. Yeah, I feel confident that Tamta will do pretty well, to be honest. I definitely see her in the final, and, you know, depending on the other songs, top 10, maybe top 5.
I think sometimes we complain because we kind of know something's good, and I think this is good, and I think this could potentially be really good with the right staging. This is a definite challenger for me. Riding the wave of last year, we've seen many countries do that. Have a good year, there's hype, there's momentum, and all of a sudden they do even better the following year. So, you know, I think that we're potentially looking at something quite special with Cyprus. Going to the chat room, they equally believe the same. Cyprus 2020, someone's written. Cyprus is going Latin pop roots. Replay is good. It's quite similar to Fuego. We've got Fuego plus Siren song from Ukraine. We'll come to next. Nice segue. Equals Replay. Yeah, there's some real sort of positivity there for Tamta. So Open looks pretty good for you.
Yeah, definitely. Just wanted to say that let's not forget that as I think Martin pointed out, the team is professionals, and they are aware of the danger of being lookalike of Fuego, and they know all the dangers like we are talking right now. It's not like a bunch of amateurs gonna do the copycat of the same thing that they did last year. So they know what they are doing, and I really trust CYBC on their selections and their work. So already proud of the works being put out so far.
Thanks, Oban. Right, final subject of tonight: Ukraine. Where do we start? Blimey. Okay, let's do this. This we've got 15 minutes. Let's get this done. So, Ukraine, they hold a little competition called Vidbeer even. MARUV wins with the song Siren Song. She gets questioned by Jamala. She is then presented with a contract. She chooses not to sign it. We can go into the details of that contract maybe later. She chooses not to sign it. Ukraine decide that they're then going to offer it to two other acts, the second and third choice act. They haven't signed it, and today we find out that Ukraine have withdrawn from Eurovision. It's not the first time Ukraine have been full of controversy. Back in 2005, there were 75 entries. The favourite was Annie Lorak, and she supported the losing side in the Orange Revolution. All sorts of stuff happened, and in the end, they parachuted Green Jolly in. And that not being right, they just changed the song at the very last minute because there was a no politics rule. Eurovision 2010, we had issues with the singer Sweet People, ended coming up 10th in the end, but they changed the song. The following year there were issues with Mika Newton, and then 2016 Jamala wins with a heavily political song. The following year, Julia Samiova from Russia is not allowed into Ukraine. Goes on and on and on and on and on. When does this end? I think there's the question. Ukraine are out. I ask my guests what they think of this whole situation. Are we getting to a point now where, if we're trying to politicize Eurovision, surely there are certain countries that are going too far the other direction. And I'll come to Joe first, I think, on this. Joe, are we at a point now where the EBU need to get involved, or is it ultimately not their responsibility and it's down to the broadcaster to have a fair and reasonable selection process?
I think the EBU should get involved. Certainly, I mean, I can understand why some people would just say it is down to the national selection, but at the end of the day, I think this is just proven that the national selection hasn't worked. They've gone through all that. They've gone through how many, was it a couple of semi-finals at least, plus the final, to just say, no, we're going to withdraw now. And from what I can gather, they actually offered it to the 4 out of the 6 acts, or at least the 2 that came sort of 3rd and 4th, or 4th and 5th or something. They basically said, we're not going to do it. The contract was terrible. The contract, no sort of right-minded artist, especially one as well established, would actually sign it, I think, and I believe, and I also think that not all of it wasn't just her that actually was questioned by Jamala. I believe some of the other acts were questioned as well. So right from the beginning, there was an agenda there, certainly from Jamala potentially, and some of the other, there was an agenda there straight away to make it political. So I think the EBU sort of straight away said, no, you're not doing it. You want a national selection, you want to come to Eurovision, you don't talk about Crimea, you don't talk about it. Because they've done it, they should have been disqualified. I don't think they should have withdrawn. I think they should have just said, no, that's it, you're out this year. Learn your lesson, here's a massive fine. That's what should have happened, really.
It's interesting. During the final of Vidbeer, they actually confirmed, the broadcaster confirmed that they were going to change the clause so that the decision of the jury and the televote could be null and void, and the broadcaster could decide who they would send. So there was already warning signs there during the actual final itself.
Yeah.
And I feel really, really pleased that Oban, I'll come to you in just a second. I feel really, really pleased that the other acts have turned this down. I mean, it's a great opportunity to go to Eurovision. It's massive, in fact.
Me too.
But they have all kind of rallied around MARUV, who won that final fair and square, and have said, no, we are not going to Eurovision. It's wrong. Oban.
100% on the money, Stuart, with your comments. Well, there's two aspects for me. One is, as a Cypriot, MARUV being out, good news, because the songs would be competitive with Tamta. The second, Ukraine is out, a strong competition in the semi-final is out. But on the other hand, as a Eurovision fan, I felt embarrassed. Like, Eurovision Song Contest making headlines with this topic, I felt embarrassed. And you could see that all the global newspapers were putting on these headlines. And then I felt embarrassed to MARUV. She didn't deserve it. She said that she wasn't planning to participate. She was invited by the broadcaster to take part in the national selection. And then she had to go through the questioning live on TV by a winner, which wasn't held for the same standard of questioning when she was going through the her national selection process. And it's embarrassing. It's unfair to MARUV and all the Ukrainian Eurovision fans, because those people are also waiting this moment whole year. And now, what if Sergei wins next year? So we won't see Ukraine next year as well. So all these Ukrainian Eurovision fans need to wait 2 years to see Ukraine back in the competition now. So it's unbelievable. I don't agree politics being outside of the Eurovision. I think politics is in every aspect of life. You know, you cannot avoid it. It's the part of daily life, right? But putting it in as an obstacle to the everyday functioning of the contest, it's wrong. So I'm really disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting points on the chat room, actually, just to back that up. Andy's put that you know, Jamala even withdrew in 2011 with the song Smile. In fact, she became a fan favorite off the back of that song. Going into 2016, became one of the favorites because of what had happened in 2011. So yeah, I mean, it's just, there's so many things over a sustained period of time. We're talking 2005 right through 2019. There have been stuff happening fairly consistently, and I hate talking about politics in Eurovision. I'm one of the ones that campaign when someone says to me, Eurovision is all about politics. I'll be the one that says, actually, it's not. You know, they say, well, why does Greece and Cyprus vote for each other? Why do this country and I said, well, actually, they've got singers that take part. They're actually really well known. There's a genuine reason as to why countries give points. This has taken it far too far, in my opinion. It's really difficult to talk about and try and make sense of it all, because it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. It doesn't need to be a part of this fantastic competition. Just a shout out to Tom. Tom's joined us. Hey, Tom. He's gone.
Hello. There we go.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
I was going to say, I knew you couldn't not join the Ukraine debate.
Do you know what? Yeah, it was very tempting. The whole thing has just all the elements of a farce, and you do wonder where it's going to end. It's this, in a way, I think it's the Ukrainian government that is essentially blending politics with Eurovision, because let's face it, it was more about the Ukrainian government's restrictions in 2017, I think, that stopped Yulia Samoyeva performing. And it's, I think the problem is that the Ukraine sees themselves as still being in a military conflict of sorts with Russia. And until such time as that is resolved, I think, unfortunately, it's going to continue in that fashion. I do wonder, seeing Ukraine and Russia at the same Eurovision final, I think that's going to be quite a rarity.
I think this is one for the EBU to figure out. I think they've got to really get their heads around. They've got 12 months to get their heads around it. They came out today and said they withdrew. They're welcome back next year. So that's the end of it. There's no debate over whether they've been fined or whether they've been banned. They haven't been banned. They've come out and said they withdrew. The EBU, however, do need to think about how this is going to work moving forward, because there is so many things that take place every year that they need to figure out how they can work together to make this work longer term. Bringing in some of the other guests, and let's not forget that the MARUV won this final. You don't just turn up to a national final. You prepare hard over a period of months. You perform your heart out, you win the votes of the Ukrainian people, and you don't go to Eurovision even though you're expecting to. Have Ukraine themselves, though, essentially stolen an opportunity to win Eurovision? And I want to put that to Jason. Jason, have Ukraine have Ukraine put themselves in a position where they could have had a potential winner here?
They could have won that. Manchester Calling, it was the most popular request, and sod's law, I didn't have it. But I had so many requests for this song, one after another, and the disappointment you see on Facebook and everywhere else about it not coming through. Everybody was, that was my favourite. You're lying, you know. They've shot themselves in the foot. It would have done them a lot of, you know, weirdly trade and money for their country. And it's just, politics shouldn't be part of Eurovision. Eurovision is about being one family, you know, loving the music that's there. Politics should be shoved aside. We've had this rumbling before, you know, like with Russia, and I don't know. The EU need to do something. They need to put some kind of block in, or just stop countries like Ukraine participating for a year or two to teach them a lesson. I do wonder if the Ukraine will suddenly turn a little bit like Turkey and say, do you know what, we're going to walk away for a few years.
Well, we had this with, as Andy said, we had this with Turkey and Cyprus in the mid-70s. This is not a completely new thing. Oben.
I was just thinking the same thing when we were talking about Ukraine and Russia. It's the same situation with Armenia and Azerbaijan, right? Armenia didn't participate when the contest was in Baku. But I will take a little bit of pride in this, but when the contest was in Istanbul in 2004, we did participate without any trouble. We had troubles, of course. We weren't allowed. Well, it wasn't easy to send a Greek Cypriot singer, and then we had to choose a British citizen, Lisa Andres, to represent Cyprus. But we did take part. Politics aside, and in 2003 when Sertab Erener won, Cyprus gave 10 points to Turkey. So yes, we do vote for Greece. There's politics involved, but when it's time to make business, the politics aside, we do what it needs to be done. I would like to urge, if someone would ever see me saying this, but I would like to urge all these countries to act with a common sense and try to put the differences aside as much as they can. I know that there's an elections in Ukraine at the end of March, 31st of March, and my Ukrainian friends are saying that most probably the government is coming would have sent MARUV without a problem. But the current government is nationalist government, and they do play to the public's opinion to kind of try to win the election at the end of next month. So that's all I have to say about this as well.
Yeah, we're moving into politics far too deeply, and it's sad because that's ultimately where this topic ends. Martin, coming to you, and then Elliot for the final few points, and Joe and for the final point. I think where does this leave MARUV, Martin? You know, great singer, great performance. Fantastic performance, as Andy's put in the chat room. You know, she had the best performance of most national finals this year, although Paul Oscar of Iceland might have sued based on the performance itself. Where does she go next?
Well, I don't think it's done her much harm. I mean, obviously it's spoilt her chances of performing in front of 180, 200 million people, but seeing that she had a record deal in Russia and concerts in Russia, if she wants to have her career in Russia, then I'm sure that she'll be having loads more PR and TV appearances, because you know they'll just want to say, oh, you know, we'll grab the woman who's basically put Ukraine out of the Eurovision. You know, if that's how they'll view it. it is a shame for her international career, but I'm sure she'll be back. When you consider that she was a substitute entry because Tiana stepped down, it's an amazing feat that she's managed to win the whole thing. As far as the jury guessing at the sort of some of the acts, because it wasn't only MARUV, it was also Yuko, who's the female singer, was a Russian citizen but is trying to get Ukrainian citizenship, and Anna Maria, the two sisters, where basically they were grilled to the extent about their parents living in Crimea and working for the Russian authorities to the extent that they were almost in tears. I think part of all of the questioning was done in a way, whether some of the producers had asked someone like Jamal to say it because they felt that if they showed up, some of the acts had these links to Russia, that the public would be less likely to vote for them, and therefore somebody who's more Ukrainian, so to speak, would win. But I don't know. I mean, if they really had a major problem with this, they should have done this all right at the beginning of the selection, saying right at the beginning, this is what you could do. It's got to be 3 minutes. It's got to be sort of after the 1st September. Oh, and by the way, you can't have any major links to Russia, and you can't go to Russia 3 months after the Eurovision. And then everyone would have gone, Marie would have gone, oh, actually, that's me out then. And it would have all been sorted.
Well, we had this in 2011. There were five heats and 2 semi-finals and a national final, and then they decided they didn't like the song, so we're going to change it. This happens a lot, and ultimately it's the artists that are the ones that suffer.
I mean, to be fair, that sort of thing happens in like Belarus.
Yeah, it's not it's not unique to Ukraine, but we're talking about the Ukraine situation, and there's a catalogue of issues over many years. Elliot, what's your take?
It's just a farce for everyone who got invested in it, Ukrainian or not, because, like I said, MARUV was asked to come into the selection 2 days before the deadline because Teyana stepped out because she didn't like who was on the panel again, because it's the same panel who grilled her last year for basically miming on stage. And so she has refused to go back to Vidbir whilst those 3 are, in effect, on the panel. The only act in that final who didn't have any connection to Russia was Kazka. They're the only act who haven't performed in Russia. And even they, along with Brunette Street Blondes, both rejected the contract on the process of, we didn't win the selection, we're not going as someone's backup, we'll come back next year. Whoever, if they decided to be the backup, would not have done well, because the fans have gone, you're not MARUV, we don't want you, Ukraine shouldn't be here without MARUV. So it was damage limitation then withdrawing at the end of the day. I think it's ridiculous that they decided right before they announced who won, oh, by the way, there's this contract we've just drawn up. Like, come on. It's so calculated and manipulative. And look, I wasn't a big MARUV fan. I didn't like Siren's song. I didn't think her vocals were all that. But it's not fair for this woman to step in, do her artistry, do what she's comfortable with, and then be told you have to change it. Because the main issues of that contract were she had to give up the rights to the song because it's under Warner Music Russia. And the broadcaster pretty much told her in this contract was, you have to fund your staging, which isn't anything new, but it was basically, we want the rights to that song, and everything you want to do on stage has to go through us. So she could have effectively gone there, doing Siren song under a spotlight with nothing else going on, which is not MARUV and not what the fans wanted. They wanted her with an electric guitar, a fire extinguisher, and, God knows what else she had in those 2 semi-finals and final. But it's just such a shame because I love Ukrainian Eurovision, and they have sent some brilliant songs over the years, and to do this whole selection and then just go, we're not doing it, is just ridiculous. I mean, there was talk of Jamala maybe going as a backup, and even Verkas Kaduchka said he would, but even that would have just been a nightmare. There would have been, it could have been very ugly scenes in Tel Aviv from fans directed at Ukraine if they went, I feel like.
Oh, I know. This is where I disagree, because I think the fans, the fans of Ukraine have a right to be angry. I'm not sure the fans of any other country do. And I think that's where, as fans, we need to rein it in a bit. I think we're responsible for ourselves, and sometimes we lose control of ourselves.
I think MARUV is fine though, because we got to understand she has had this song played to thousands upon thousands of people now across the entire continent, and everyone is standing with her in solidarity, which is amazing. And I'm really happy to see all the acts reject this contract. Like, I wanted Freedom Jazz to win, but I would not have been happy with them going as a backup, because that's not how it should have been. They wouldn't have been judged fairly. you know, Ukraine have gone. It gives everyone else a chance in semi-final, one a chance to qualify. It damages Belarus more than anything as well, because they have close ties to Ukraine when it comes to voting because of reasons we brought up. It's a shame what's done is done, but the EBU do need to step in because they seemed sympathetic towards Ukraine about them withdrawing, and that's what I don't understand.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
they have purposely marred politics with something that was designed. Like, the whole point of Eurovision was to rebuild Europe after the devastation of war, and this is now war is breaking apart Eurovision. I just don't get it. And I don't get why Jamala felt the need to say what she said on stage. You can ask that question, but off camera and behind closed doors.
Fair point. Let's move to Nicholas, who's got a point he wants to make.
Yeah, because you know, I watched some of the national final. I was quite shocked with everything that was going on. But I think at the end of the day, what's happened has happened. We can't really do anything about it. We can't really change anything about it. This is such a foreign concept for us because we live here in the West. We don't really quite understand the things that are going on between Russia and Ukraine. And obviously this is a big issue for them, the whole thing with performing in Russia and everything. And maybe that's a bit hard for us to understand. But here's the thing. Let's all just remember that MARUV did probably the best thing she could have done. You know, she went up there on the stage, she answered Jamala's questions that weren't pretty and the other jurors that weren't pretty either. You know, she came out with her statement saying that she would love to represent her country. She is Ukrainian and she wouldn't want to represent any other country, but she just couldn't get behind this contract. I think it's a fair point. It's given her some PR. It's giving her a bunch of new fans all over the world from all of this press that she's getting. So, you know, the Ukrainian broadcaster has done a big mistake. And at the end of the day, MARUV is the one winning here.
Good point. Run out of time. We're out of time. So, look, thanks to all my guests. I'm going to bring Tom in now. Tom's going to tell us about what to expect on Saturday's show. Hey, Tom.
Hello. Now, Saturday. Oh, my goodness. Talk about Super Saturday. We've got the jewels of Melody Festivalen. We've got Iceland. We've got Portugal. We've got Moldova. We've got an absolutely action-packed show coming to you. We're going to be live from 11 o'clock Central European time. That's 10 o'clock GMT. It will be fire. And I reckon there's going to be some absolutely fantastic talking points coming out of all of those finals. We might even, you never know, have a good idea of one, who's going to win Melody Festivalen. Already on the Twitter feed, there's some talk there of some performances that have been tweaked and changed in preparation for those duels. And then also, could we have a potential Eurovision winner coming out of Portugal? Let's find out on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think the guest panel thought so, Tom, but I did. I think they were very much on the negative side when it came to Portugal. Don't forget as well, we will be talking Norway on Saturday, and there's some potential crackers in Norway. Listen, thank you for joining. We've had a consistently good stream of chat on the panel. And also on the chat room this evening. Make sure you click that like button. This has been a really special event tonight, and we've gotten into some really deep discussions around Ukraine, but not forgetting Portugal. What else did we discuss? We discussed Tamta and how Cyprus are going to come second again, and also we got into Beovizija, and there have been some results in Beovizija. Wonder Strings and Ivana, Natasha and Una, Saskia and Alexander, Ivan and Sophia are through in Serbia tonight.
Yeah, Funked Up didn't get through, so I'm not going to watch the rest of it. Bye, Serbia.
Never mind. There's always the semi-final too. Tune in on Saturday. We've got a show the following Wednesday and the following Saturday, of course. Saturday, 2300 Central European time. We'll see you there. Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you very much, guys, as always.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you. Take care.
Jason, remind us of your website. Jason Darcy Entertains.
That's the one.
Jason,
Mr. Darcy Entertains.
Mr. Darcy Entertains. Okay, sorry, Jason. Thanks to Joanne as always.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you to Martin of the Let Me Be the One blog and radio show.
Thank you very much. See you again.
Thanks to Nicholas.
Thank you. I'm going to head straight to bed now.
Yeah. And thanks, Oban. Apologies, you're going to come second again.
Ευχαριστώ. Καληνύχτα.
And thanks to Tom for his cameo appearance.
Hey, see you
We'll be
later,
back on
guys.
Saturday. Good night, guys. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.